Joe Person, how are you, sir?
I am doing well, friend. I heard you already disparaging the lone touchdown drive for the first team offense since Christmas Eve.
It's Christmas.
You're putting on your
No,
Grinch hat. I mean, can't you just enjoy
no.
that beautiful thing that transpired in Western New York?
I can, and I actually have. I loved what I saw. The only okay, we'll start with the stuff I didn't like. It's really the one thing I didn't like, is as much as anything else. In that there seemed to be pressure up the middle, and I thought that at least on a couple of occasions, certainly on the sack, that Bryce kind of stared at the rush, and that's not a good recipe in the regular season. But they certainly did a lot of good things. So that was the only thing that bothered me about that drive, which obviously did end in the touchdown and for the most part looked awesome, was that the rush came right up the middle, and that's no good.
No, that's fair. I guess to be a Panthers apologist, which you know I'm certainly not.
Right.
They were playing without their starting center, Austin
Right.
Corbett, who was home in Charlotte for the birth of his son, and starting left guard Damian Lewis, who had his own family matter to attend to. So I'm willing to give them a little bit of cut them a little bit of slack there, but certainly, it was kind of PTSD stuff, because that was where so much of the pressure, not all of it, I mean, obviously Ike Ekwonu gave up a ton of pressure on the outside, but that was such a point of emphasis this offseason, is cleaning up that interior protection because of what we watched last year. So I understand that gave you some flashbacks as you were enjoying an otherwise pretty beautiful afternoon of weather in the greater Raleigh-Durham area.
It was lovely Saturday afternoon. Got much yard work done, lots of mowing, but I did catch the first drive. I watched a little bit more after that, but I'll be totally fair. It lost my interest because, to me, the only thing I really wanted to see was the first team offense look representative of an NFL offense, and as you said, first time since Christmas we saw them score. That's good. I like Chuba Hubbard, who I think is at least the first half of the season until Brooks is ready to go, probably going to be the feature runner. And if Chuba Hubbard's running well, there's no reason to change it. I liked everything I saw from Chuba, and it was cool to see Jordan Matthews feature in.
Yeah. No, it was I again, you know this, I think, but your listeners don't and probably don't care. I was not at the game. I was covering it at a wedding in New York City, and luckily it was an evening wedding, so I was able to kind of get spread out and hunkered down at in the Marriott. And yeah, I liked what I saw. I mean, and I kept with it later on, kind of like you did a little bit, but I don't know. This offense, they weren't going to go ahead and show all their cards. Dave Canales was certainly not. No coach would. But just to have some success and to move the ball methodically down the field, convert a fourth down on an off-platform play, which we've seen so much of. Like, that has been one thing we have seen a lot this camp, and some of it by design. Like, they're moving Bryce out of the pocket sometimes on purpose. That fourth down play in Buffalo obviously was not, but it was a good example of something that, and we did not see it a ton as his rookie year, because I mean, sometimes the pocket was just gone so quickly you couldn't even get off platform.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, listen, we're not going to make too much of it. If Buffalo was playing their seconds and thirds, but at least it gives this quarterback and this offense a little bit of something to feel good about as they prepare for Week 1 in New Orleans.
Yeah, Joe Person, by the way, is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show, covers the Panthers for The Athletic. The last year was just a disaster in every way, shape, or form. You know, not that we're going to talk about this. The Patriots are in danger of putting Drake May in the exact same position. Weak offensive line, no real weapons on the outside. Very difficult for a quarterback to show anything if you don't have time and you don't have quality weapons to get the ball to. I do think the Panthers addressed both of those needs. Remains to be seen how far along they are in the offensive line or at receiver. But starting with the receiver position, the Deontay Johnson catch on 4th and 3, that rollout that was forced, but Bryce Young looked comfortable, made a good throw. Does seem like that is a combination we're going to see. Who's next in terms of that wide receiver that we either need to see step up or is maybe most capable of doing it?
Well, I mean, I think Adam Thielen, even at 34, I think he just turned 34.
Right.
Even at his age, I don't think he's going to catch 100 passes like last year, in large part because of Deontay Johnson and, to a lesser degree, Xavier Legette. So you asked a kind of a two-part question. I think Thielen right now is the most obvious candidate to kind of be 1A with Deontay Johnson. Legette, he's got some stepping up to do. And like, we are in a world and an age of immediacy. And, like, I get it, and I even hate to do that because it's not like they picked Xavier Legette in the top 10 picks. But they did pick him in the first round. And he did not make a lot of splash plays this summer at camp or in the very brief preseason look that he got. But mostly I'm talking about at camp and at the Jets practice. You just never really were jotting down something he did or tweeting it out. And I don't know. I mean, a lot of people around the league felt like that they may have reached there, that he while he was an explosive player at South Carolina, there wasn't a lot of nuance to his game in terms of route running, that it was a lot of straight ahead speed and kind of, high pointing the ball with his terrific strength and height, which is not nothing. And hold on, I'm just seeing a German friend of ours on our street. He probably thinks I'm blowing him off. Comes all the way from Germany, and I don't even stop to talk to him.
I get it, man. You're not a good neighbor.
I am going to kind of circle back around. Well, whatever. So enough about Johannes. We were talking about Xavier Legette.
Right.
And listen, I don't think Jonathan Mingo he got hit with that label last year after they picked him in the second round at Ole Miss. Not a real good route runner. There were occasions he's even admitted that, in particularly, he was not very good in scramble situations about giving Bryce a target for those off-platform throws, and he really didn't do much his rookie year. And you certainly hope that's not going to repeat itself with Legette. I do think Legette arrives in the NFL, with a higher ceiling than Jonathan Mingo, but it was a little bit, again, with the caveat that we want it now, darn.
Right.
That it was not. We didn't see a lot of splash plays out of him throughout August.
Well, we did, following you throughout training camp and at the Jets practice, we saw some big plays from Jonathan Mingo and especially Terrace Marshall. Those two guys did step up. So at the very least, there's going to be depth and maybe safety in numbers throughout. What are your thoughts on Ja'Tavion Sanders, the tight end out of Texas they took in the 4th round?
I like him. I've got a soft spot for tight ends anyway.
Sure.
But I do like him as a receiver. They did not draft him to block. He's not a good blocker, and maybe that's something he develops as his career goes on. But yeah, I think he can help them. It's been a weird summer at that position for them because, as you suggested or didn't suggest, as you said, Jordan Matthews is really taking advantage of a lot of increased reps that came with Ian Thomas's calf injury. I didn't think Jordan Thomas was going to make this team a month ago, and now I had him on the 53 at the beginning of the season. We shall see. I mean, I'm not saying I've got all the answers, but yeah, I mean, he's 32 years old, former receiver. It's a great story. I don't know that he's going to shine out and look as good in the regular season as he did in some of these preseason games, but I like some of these August stories. Like I enjoyed them when I would go to Florida for spring training stories, and I like them this time of year too. Like who's someone that's just kind of made themselves over, or just kind of an underdog comeback type story, and certainly Jordan Matthews, the other end of the spectrum from Jatavion Sanders, who's just getting here with a lot of hope and promise.
All right, let me ask you two quick things on the defensive side, and then we will let Joe Person go at on Twitter at Joseph Person. Second corner opposite J.C. Horn, and we all know that if Horn is healthy, you've got the number one cornerback spot pretty much locked down, but he hasn't been able to stay healthy. Makes it even more important to find somebody really good opposite him. Where are they in that category? And I know Dane Jackson, who would be the starter, is hurt. They made a trade for Michael Jackson from Seattle. Your thoughts on cornerback 2?
I think it's still a mess. Right now, I would say a guy like Deshaun Jameson, who did start a game or two last year, I think he's got the inside track until Dane Jackson gets healthy. But Dane Jackson's going to be out for probably the first month of the season from everything it sounds like.
Yeah.
So I don't, talking to people around the league, different personnel guys, I don't think that Michael Jackson really projects as a starter. I think he's sort of a rotational guy. He does give them size and pretty good speed. Like that, if you look at that spot opposite J.C. Horn, now that they cut Lamar Jackson, all these Jacksons.
Yes.
Famous name Jacksons. Once he had good size, and but he's gone. DiCaprio Boodle has some starting experience from last year, and Deshaun Jameson, whom I mentioned, and then their 5th round pick, Shaw. Why am I going to blank on Shaw's last name? But I am.
Don't worry about it.
Out of Washington State. Gosh, I'm getting old. Anyway, none of them have any size.
Right.
Like they are really, and I don't know. That could be a problem. Dane Jackson doesn't have size. So all of which to say, I think that is a very obvious spot where they're going to add again. I know they just traded for Michael Jackson, but I think they'll use a waiver claim on a corner. Teams typically aren't waiving guys at that position that even have a chance to be a starter. So I don't know you find your starter there, but maybe you help your depth.
All right, final thing. The injuries have made it more difficult to find the edge rusher opposite Jadeveon Clowney. Where are we there?
Same kind of thing. By the way, it's Shaw Smith-Wade. So
yes.
Apologies to Shaw. Yeah, I don't love the edge group either. That I've written that these were the 2 spots that you had circled coming into camp, and they are still problem areas for sure. And just like injury impacted corner with Dane Jackson, we have yet to see DJ Wanham on the field after he had his complications from his quad surgery at the end of the 2023 season in Minnesota. I didn't hate that pickup. Obviously, you'd already committed some money, a good chunk of money to Jadeveon Clowney, so you weren't going to just blow the bank at one position.
Right.
So Wanham, if healthy, maybe he is sort of a value signing who gets you 8 sacks, which he had 2 different times in Minnesota. Which you can live with that if Clowney stays healthy and does Clowney things, but we haven't seen him. Like he's not even practiced yet, so that he's got to be a month away, I would think. It would
help if DJ Johnson could show something. No,
it's a good. And you're right, and he had a sack against Buffalo again. Caveat with the second and third team offense, but it was something. And up until that point, really, most of what you heard from coaches, including Canales and Ajero, is they really liked DJ Johnson as an edge setter against the run. So if you can get something out of him that sort of keep the seat warm until Wanham comes back, that would help you. But again, I think that's a position we're going to see them add to in the coming days.
13 days away, Joe Person. You'll have plenty of time to apologize to Shaw Smith-Wade and catch up with Johannes, your German neighbor.
Yes. So not even a neighbor. He's visiting, and I think we're going to have him. We're definitely having him for dinner now that I blew him off.
Oh, very nice.
I'm going to have to put him onto your website so I can tell him that, listen, there was a good reason Adam Gold's the man.
There you go. You're such a gentleman. And a man who has a soft spot for tight ends, which will be part of your introduction the rest of our friendship. Joe Person from The Athletic covers the Panthers. I'll talk to you again, sir. Thank you.
All right, buddy. Have a good week.
You too.